Hi friends! I am so excited you're here today because I will be talking about all the books I read in February. I went hard in February reading books. I didn't think I was, but then I realized my March is pretty much gonna be all booked up, but not cool booked up. Does that make sense with work and stuff? So I went really hard. I read a ton of books, so let's get into it. Like always, I will timestamp down below so you guys can skip around. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. It's a lot that I ended up reading. And also, if you hear a sound, I am sitting on my yoga ball right now because my chair's wheel keeps falling off. So it's actually like kind of fun because you can kind of just bounce around. But let's get into it. So the first book I ended up reading in February was Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a YA thriller, and it's dark like a lot of Tiffany D. Jackson books. This is about a young girl who wants to be a singer and who a very famous rapper takes an interest in her, and she is young. She's 17. You can see like her being groomed, and it's just horrible. It's like a very horrible situation. And yeah, it's really sad. But also powerful. This is like a powerful book at the end. And I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really liked it. This book that was kind of a rollover too from January was Hunted by Darcy Coates. I listened to this one while crocheting. You guys know I've been like crocheting a bunch, and a lot of Darcy Coates books are on Everand. Almost said Script. But yeah, I had a blast with this one, and it looks really long, but yeah, I think I said this in my TBR video. The font is huge in this. It went by so quickly. This is a thriller about people dying in the woods, and it's not quite like how you think it is, and it's very twisty, turny. I really like the ending of this one. It actually would fit into the vlog I did for unhinged women, good for her women, because I was just like, yes, I love it. So I ended up giving this one, I think, 4.5 stars. I might round up to 5. I actually did really enjoy this. I didn't think I was going to because it's not a supernatural horror book. It's just a thriller, but I was in it. I loved it. Next books I'm going to talk about very quickly because I did vlog these books for my Unhinged Good for Her Halloween vlog. Confessions by Akane Minato. I absolutely love this. I gave it 5 stars. Such a great thriller. It's so good. It's a revenge thriller, and it is twisty, turny, and I honestly did not see the ending of this coming. I was like, oh my gosh, that was insane. So good. 5 stars. The Power by Naomi Alderman. This is like a sci-fi horror, dystopian horror about women getting powers, kind of like X-Men, and how the world responds to that. And yeah, it's pretty graphic at times, which I did really like. But I think I ended up around a 3-star with it because it was very long. The Shining Girls by Lauren Bukes was really cool. It was a really cool thriller. It's like a serial killer time travel thriller, and this one of his victims gets away, and she's like, I'm gonna get this fucker, and she figures it out. It's fantastic, and I really enjoyed it as a thriller. It is very trippy though, and it took me a second to be like, okay, wait, what time are we? So I gave this one 4 stars. And then one of my favorite new books I've read, Animal by Lisa Taldeo. This is actually lit fic, but it's so visceral and dark and disturbing. I ate it up. I loved it. I ended up reading Bittersweet Chocolate by C.M. Goroches. This is a very short novella, like it's only 54 pages, about a woman getting revenge on her stupid husband. And then I read Hardcoee Kelli by Wrath James White, and this is about a woman who gets powers from a Halloween costume, Let's just put it that way. And I did really like both of these. They're both at like, I think Hardcoee Kelli is 4.5 and Bittersweet Chocolate is a 5-star for me. I ended up listening to Women Eating by Claire Coda. This is another like contemporary, like I would say, yeah, it's more of a contemporary horror book about a vampire. A young vampire. I will say this book felt a bit repetitive for me, but it was overall really enjoyable, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. And then I was riding so high on unhinged female goodness. I decided to bring myself down with a layman, and that was Beware is the group read. If you guys don't know yet, I'm participating in the Year of Layman that is hosted by Elsie from Slime and Slashers and Chris from and Christine from See Chris Reads. I don't know what I was saying there. But yeah, this book was probably the worst layman, which is saying a lot after Dark Mountain. It's so stupid. So this story is about an invisible guy, and you figure out like why he's invisible, but there's also like this satanic cult. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. A woman is just terrorized over and over again to where they tell the same story 4 different times of this woman being like just essayed over and over again. But don't worry, she's fine, and she's you know, she thinks this guy's cute right afterwards, so totally fine. If I could like blow up a copy of this, like I'm not for book burning, I just want to like explode one because it's so stupid. I would blow up Beware. And then I ended up reading The Babysitter's Coven by Kate Williams. This is a YA book, and it is exactly how it sounds. It has those Buffy vibes, like a coven. They're the chosen ones to protect the seal or whatever. It was super, super fun and cute, and I gave it 4 stars. And for my friend Amy's book club, the Dark Hearts book club, I ended up reading Alice by Christina Henry. This is like an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and I really liked the beginning of this. Like, we get Alice in a mental institution, and you know, just how she doesn't really remember too much. It's like coming back to her as the story goes, and that can be frustrating because it happened for a long time. But basically, like, how she gets out of there and like what happens after. It does tie into Alice in Wonderland and brings in like really dark problems and stuff, but the beginning of it was so good for me. It reminded me of Return to Oz, which if you haven't seen, I highly recommend seeing it, because it gave those vibes of it, like of this, a fairy tale, or like, you know, like a kid's story, like was revised, but like actually Dorothy's like traumatized. Yeah, I ended up giving it 3 stars just because it kind of lost me there, with, the 2 characters they're not really knowing what's going on for a certain amount of time. And then I read Paradise by Toni Morrison. This is book 3 in the Beloved series, and it was so good. I actually think I started this after Beware. After I listened to it, I did the audio from Libby for this, and I was just like wrapping yourself up in actual good writing and like a great story, interesting story, of course. But yeah, this was really good. I would say it's not as traumatic as Beloved or disturbing as Beloved, but it does tell a really interesting story about a town. It starts off with, I think it's like 6 or 9 men going to kill women at a convent in a town, and yeah, it kind of unravels from there. You get a lot of the town's history and how that town is itself, like, is also suffering from racism, and they're a predominantly African-American town since after the Civil War, so it's like really interesting stuff going on in this, and yeah, it's still disturbing on some levels. Like, there are disturbing stuff that happens to characters. Also, the time period, not great for women either. So yeah, I ended up giving it 5 stars. The writing was just such a relief. I was just like, oh my gosh, I love it. I love all of the writing. So fucking beautiful in this. And then I listened to The Shadow of Gods by John Gwynne for my friend Kitty's book club, Spicy Cats book club, and I did enjoy this. I liked the fighting in it. I thought the fighting was really cool. It's very like Vikings. It's a lot of Vikings stuff in it, and it felt like Indiana Jones a lot because they're trying to get like these artifacts of gods and stuff. And yeah, it was good, but I realized I think I liked another fantasy book that I actually read this month more, which I wasn't expecting at all. I wasn't honestly expecting to finish both of these books, but yeah, as I said, I was crocheting a lot and this audio just came in clutch while crocheting. So I think I'm leaning towards like a 3.5 for this one. I did enjoy it, but not as good as the other one I read. Then I read the other Darcy Coates book, Quarter to Midnight, The 15 Tales of Suspense by Darcy Coates. And I gotta say, I've read every physical book from my Ouija game this year. I'm just saying. I'm just gonna brag for a minute. I had a lot of fun with this one. There is a sweet, sweet mannequin story in this that I absolutely loved. And yeah, again, the audio is on Everand and I just like flew through it and I had a blast with it, and I'm giving it 4 stars as well. And then I ended up reading Bluebeard's Castle by Anna Biller for my friend Elizabeth Sagewood's book club, the Haunted Victorian Book Club. I think I called this a different name, but I think that was like another thing going on in February in my TBR video actually. But I loved this. I know it's like controversial, but because it has a lot of mixed opinions in it, but I'm a big Anna Biller fan. I like Love Witch, so I kind of got the satire there. And yeah, it's very over the top and stuff, like a gothic romance. I actually read a 70s gothic romance, or 60s gothic romance, later on this month too, and I was just like, it's so great. She nails it. She nailed that those books that used to haunt me, and yeah, I ended up giving it 4.5. I did want a little bit more, you know, stabbing and stuff and murder and blood. The next book I ended up reading was Hot Pink Satanism by Damien Cassie and Kira R. Torres. I read this for Valentine's Day week, or I think it was like the day before or something. And this is like a dark comedy rom-com about this guy. He ends up in hell, and hell is just like Lisa Frank painting the level of hell he's on. And you know what? That could be like hell for somebody, you know. But yeah, this was just like really outrageous. I would say this is like bizarro horror, and just really funny. There's a lot of jokes in this. Literally they dedicate this book to Aubrey Plaza. So if that helps you think like what kind of book this is, it's definitely Aubrey Plaza's sense of humor. There's also like wrestling stuff in this too that it just went over my head, but if you're into wrestling, like somebody I know, Kelsey, I think you would really like this. And yeah, I think I gave it 5 stars. Honestly, I flew through it in one sitting. Super fun. Next book I read for like Valentine's Day, was Babydoll by Christopher Robertson. I got the ebook for this one, and this is an extreme erotic horror. And he wrote this because he was told his books are so wholesome, and he was like, I'll give you wholesome, and gave us some freaking weirdos. So we follow, is it Babydoll and Teddy Bear, or Baby Bear, the husband, and they like to, it's kind of like a voyeuristic kink they have, but it's like taken to the next level, I feel like, and some stuff goes down with Babydoll and a guy. Yeah, and that's all I'm gonna say. It was hilarious at parts, and other parts I was just like, okay, you guys gotta focus here, let's you know. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. And then for my trashy wasted weekend, I ended up reading some fun books. I read The Ghost of Oakland by W.E.D. Ross. the stereotypical gothic romance, hilarious. This is kind of like I feel like this is a takeoff of The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, because it's about people ghost hunting in a haunted house automatically, and you have like a psychologist, and you have the ghost hunter, you have the woman that's like, I know all the lore here. It was really fun, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. Honestly, just pick those up whenever you see them anywhere, because you'll either just like DNF it or whatever and you spent like $1 on it, or you'll actually enjoy it, and the covers are great. And then I read Bloody Valentine by Stephen R. George. I was shocked. I was so shocked by this freaking book. I sat down, I think it was on Valentine's Day. I had a couple of minutes before I went into work, and I was like, I'm just gonna read like 10 pages and see how it is. I read like 80 pages in like 20 minutes or something. It reads so quickly. It hooks you. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. And you know what? It just got even more stupid as he went on. But I was there for it. It was hilarious. And yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I actually replaced this with, is it Midnight Sun by Ramsey Campbell? I DNF'd. I made it like 50 pages into this. This month, this is my 24 and 24. And I'm just gonna replace it with this because it counts as a paperback from hell, and I just had so much fun. If you're wondering what it's about, it might blow your brain up. How zany it is. It is about a killer who they believe came alive because they did like a test of, you know how like FBI profiles will do like a test case and they'll make up somebody, and they made up this dude Valentine. It's like Johnny Valentine or something, and he kills kids because he was abused and stuff like that. And he's back. He killed once and now he's back, and it's so ridiculous, the stuff that happens in this. I was so entertained, and I'm giggling thinking about it. But yeah, I had a blast with it. 4 stars, just because it was like so stupid at parts. I cannot give it 5 stars. And another book I read for Garbogust, Our Wasted Weekend, was mine by Robert R. McCammon. As you can see, they're twin covers. So fun. But I read this for Kelli's, I think it's Kelli's Paperbacks from Hell book club from Kelli Hooked on Books. Also, we were supposed to buddy read it. She DNF'd it 80% in, and you know what? I should have DNF'd it too. I should have DNF'd it like immediately. I'm thinking of giving this 1 star. It was just like really over the top, and you could tell like this turned into a road movie, and when you get on the road, it's like you can tell McCammon didn't know where he was going with it and was like, how the fuck do I end this stupid story? But we follow Mary Terror, a radical fucking hippie who is like Weatherman Underground, but also part of the Manson family like mesh, and like they killed a bunch of pigs or whatever in the 60s to protest, and now she's needs a baby. It was ridiculous. This also, the part that almost made me DNF is when Mary Terror, she does acid, and like she immediately is like 10 feet tall or something. Like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. I was like, this man has never done a drug in his life. I doubt he's even had like a CBD gummy. Like, I doubt it. McCammon, if you're listening, you can let me know, okay? But yeah, it was so stupid, and I'm giving it 1 star. I think it's gonna make my my worst of list this year. And then I read Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff with my friend Sarah from Wicked Reading, and Annette. We buddy read this, and it was actually really fun to buddy read. As you can tell, I didn't really go along with it the whole time because I was crocheting while listening to it, but my copy is signed, and I didn't even realize that until like 2 years later after I got it. And yeah, this edition is like actually really cool. I will say this was off to a bit of a rocky start for me. It is told from Gabriel. I almost called him just Gabe, you know, my friend Gabe. He is arrested for killing this king, and he's basically about to be put to death, but he's telling his life story. It's kind of like a Dune situation, if you've read Dune before, the little clippets beforehand from the historian, but we're getting it like, we're getting the process or whatever. And so we follow him. He goes to like school and everything, and the school's like really religious, but it really, I would say like halfway through, or like a little bit more than halfway towards the end, there's just some really great character work that happens, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm loving it. I'm really loving these characters. It's very character driven fantasy, which I really like. I like high fantasy too, but like I feel like if you're with the characters a long time, you really like them. So yeah, I ended up giving this 4 stars, and I will read the second one because the way this one ended, it's like, oh my gosh, I kind of want more. I need more of these characters. You guys are wondering if some of my favorite characters was Aaron and Baptiste, of course, but I also like Gabriel. He grew on me, and yeah, it was super fun. I can't believe I listened to this this month, and Shadow of the Gods. But honestly, if it wasn't for crocheting, I probably wouldn't have made it through. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy them. So I ended up reading 2 arcs, one through NetGalley and one through the author themselves, and I'll just talk about those really, really quickly. So I read Forgotten Sisters by Cynthia Pelayo, and I loved this. This is my first Cynthia Pelayo book, and I really enjoyed it. It was such a fun story. If you really like gothic ghost stories with a bit of a twist and historical, I would say this is more like a historical supernatural thriller, like a horror thriller. So good, with fairy tale vibes. This has a lot of Little Mermaid vibes in it, and it was just really interesting. She talks about SS Eastland in this, and I feel like that is never talked about in anything. If you guys want to notice, is it Caitlin? Not Caitlin Starling. What am I talking about? Ask the Mortician Lady. She has a video about it. It's so crazy. It's like a really crazy thing that happened in America that like nobody talks about. Like even in this book Cynthia Pelayo wrote, like nobody talks about this even in Chicago. Like it's all about like gangster stuff in Chicago, or the Chicago Fire, H.H. Holmes and stuff, which are interesting things, but it's like the SS Eastland is like a huge catastrophe that happened. It almost like, it's like 800 people died. Like it was that big, and it happened like quickly. Yeah, so it was good. I'm excited to read more from this author, and I gave it 4 stars. I'm like kind of going on an SS Eastland rant right now. And then I read Metal Demon. I don't know why I said it like that. Metal Demon by Julie, is it Julie Keener? I'm probably forgetting this author's name, but they emailed me this arc, and it's a little novella about a metal demon. It's in a woman's body, and they get energy, they siphon like metal singers' souls, and it was like really fun. I would say this is the most metal book I have ever read, personally. Like sometimes I go into books wanting the metal. Night Stalkers. We were promised metal in that one. This one brought the metal, as in as much as I'm saying the word metal, that word appears a lot in this book. That was my only stripe with it. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It is definitely a lot of fun. And on to 72 hours in the reading nook. So I had a crazy weekend that weekend of the reading of that readathon, but I managed to read 5 books. I did vlog it, so I'm not going to go into it super detailed. So the first book I finished was Parasocial by Wendy Dalrymple. I loved this. It was so good. It's about a girl obsessed with a social media person, and she decides to go see them, and you're like, okay, you're crazy, but believe something else more crazy even happens. And I was not expecting that. I was expecting it to be like the other way around. So there's a bit of a flipped script in this little novella, and it was so fun. I listened to it on Everand and I gave it 5 stars. And then I ended up reading Telecommuting by L. Marie Wood. This is actually my copy. She signed for me when I met her, and this is about a guy who walked, he was on a walk, you know? No, he works from home and some stuff is going on. He's slowly going insane, as everybody who works from home probably are. And yeah, it was funny. I will say the ending though, I felt like I did see coming, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. And then I ended up reading Conjuring Witch by Jessica something. I forget the last name. My bad. But I listened to this on Everand. It was like 6 hour. It took me like 2 hours to listen to. It was really good. It's like feminist witch horror, you know. I'm in the mood for that all the time. So I absolutely loved it. And yeah, it is about a small town that is very like church centric, I don't know, and they won't let this woman who just moved to town join the council. They're like, well, you're not a man, so you can't join, I'm sorry. And she's like, what the heck is going on? Honestly, the way this book is set up is very, very clever, because you think it's like in the 60s and it's not. It's like present, and you don't realize until really far into it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one and I gave it 4 stars. And then I ended up reading Ambrosia by Hamlin Bird. This is a sci-fi noir book for out of my comfort zone. I read this and it was insane. I think insane is like kind of putting it lightly. I said this in my vlog. It is very much like Men in Black, Shape of Water, almost gave me Fringe vibes at times too, but it's its own thing. While being all these other things, it's its own thing. And I ended up giving it 3 stars. I did enjoy that one. And then the book that broke me this month in February was The Devil in Silver by Victor Laval. If you guys watch my vlog, I cannot keep it together talking about this, so I'm just gonna say I gave it 5 stars. I don't want to start crying here, but it really touched my heart. It broke my heart. It, you know, it will be in my soul forever. I feel like I will carry this story with me, and yeah, it was very good. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. And the book I ended February with was A Fire on Memory Lane. I'm filming my wrap-up pretty early, so it's 2 days before my live show for this, so I have not finished this or started it, but I will leave the live show down below. This was my book club pick, and my co-host is Lexi from Books with Lexi. So yeah, you could go see my thoughts about this in the live show, and I hope you guys had an awesome reading month like me in February. And what was some of your favorite books in February? And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye!